Hello everybody, today we're going to be using the distributive property. If you're following along in the book, this is page 139, but your notes need to be in your notebook because eventually I'll have a notebook check on this, okay? So we're going to be factoring. We know how to factor, and this is just going to show different ways to factor polynomials, okay? So we're going to start factoring with the distributive property. We're going to be able to pull out the same factors. In this, you can tell that this would need to be distributed, but we're basically going to be working backwards from the polynomial. Okay, so the easiest way is to just show you how to do it. So I'm going to move on to example 1. I'm going to use the distributive property to factor each of these polynomials. So the first thing I got to do is I've got to factor each term. Okay, so I've got 12a squared and I have 16a. So 12a, if I divide it by 2, I get 6. If I divide 6 by 2, I get 3. And then the a's, I have 2 a's. 16, if I divide it by 2, I get 8. If I divide it by 2, I get 4. If I divide it by 2, I get 2, and there's 1a. Now what you have to do is find the common terms. So they have to be in both of them for them to be common. So I've got a 2 here and a 2 here. I've got a 2 here and I have a 2 here. I'm out of 2's over here and there's no 3's over here. So I'm done circling numbers. But they both each have an a. So this is going to be what is called our greatest common factor. So 2 times 2 is 4a. 2 times 2 is 4a. So the greatest common factor between these two terms is 4a. So now we have to write each term as the product of, so multiplication, the greatest common factor and the remaining factors. So here's where our answer is. I'm going to write 4a because that's what they have in common. And then in parentheses, I'm going to put what's left. So what's left of the 12a squared is 3a. So I'm going to write 3a. Plus, because this was positive and I didn't get rid of a negative anywhere, 2 times 2 is 4. So 4a times 3a plus 4, this is factored. And there we go. We're going to try it again. We're going to do part B. It's a little longer this time. There's a B there. It's just hiding because it didn't print very well. So this time I have to factor 3 terms and find the greatest common factor of all 3 terms. So 20x squared y squared negative 45x squared y negative 35x squared. Okay, so 20. If I divide 20 by 2, I get 10. If I divide 10 by 2, I get 5. I have 2 x's. And I have 2 y's. Negative 45. First thing I'm going to do is divide it by negative 1, and then I have a regular 45. I do that so I don't forget that there's a negative 1 in here, because that's important later, because sometimes you can take the negative out if all terms are negative. So negative 1 gives me a positive 45. 45 can be divided by 3, which is 15. So 3, 15. 15 can be divided by 3, and that leaves me with 5. I have 2 x's, and I have 1 y. Over here, I'm going to do the same thing I did there. I have negative 1 and 35. 35, I don't think it can be divided by 3. Nope. So with 35, I'm going to go straight to dividing by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. And I've got 2 x's. Okay, so now I'm looking for greatest common factor. So what is common in all of them? I have a 2. I don't have any other 2's. I jump to the 5. There's a 5. There's a 5. There's a 5. So right now, the greatest common factor is 5. Let's look at my variables. I have 2 x's, 2 x's, 2 x's. So both x's are common. I have y's in these ones, but no y there. So 5x squared. That is my greatest common factor. That's on the outside. And now whatever's left gets multiplied back together to go what's on the inside. So of the first term, 2 times 2 is 4. And then y times y is y squared. 3 times 3 is 9, but it's negative. Negative 9, and then 1y. And then negative 7, and there's no variables left. So there's our factored answer. Okay? Your turn. Here's the check. You're going to factor each polynomial. So you're going to do this one, and you're going to do this one. Pause it now, and try. For A, I have 33 n cubed and negative 121 n squared. If I divide by 3, I get 11, and I have 3 n's. I'm going to do negative 1 and 121. And I know, this might be hard for some of you guys, but I know that 121 is divisible by 11. That's one of my doubles. And I have 2 n's. Okay? So find my greatest common factors. I have an 11 there. I have an 11 there. I have 2 n's there, and I have 2 n's there. So I've got 11 n squared. 11 n squared. On this one, I'm left with a 3n. On this one, I'm left with a negative 11. So there's the answer to A. This one. 14a squared b squared c. Ooh, that one's a lot. Negative 6ac squared. And then 10ac. 14 divided by 2 is 7. That one's done there. So then I have 2 a's, 2 b's, and a c. Negative 1 and 6. 6 is 2 and 3. And then I have an a and 2 c's. I've got 2 and 5. And then an a and a c. I see a common 2. Remember, we're not looking at this one anymore. I see a common 2 in each of them. So 2, 2, 2. I don't see any other numbers that are common. I see an A, an A, and an A. And then I see a C, and a C. Okay? So I've got 2AC. 2AC, 2AC. So the greatest common factor is 2AC. What's left of this one? 7AB squared. 7AB squared. Of this one, negative 3C. Negative 3C. Of this one, just 5. Plus 5. There we go. Turning the page, going to example number 2. In the 1980 eruption of Washington's Mount St. Helens had an initial blast with a velocity of 440 feet per second. The expression 440t minus 16t squares models the height of a rock erupted from the volcano after t seconds. Factor the expression. So we're not doing anything different. We're just factoring 440t negative 16t squared. This one might take a while because it's a big even number. 2 gives me 220. 2 gives me 110. 2 gives me 55. Whoa, there we go. It's not divisible by 3, so I'm going to go straight to 5. 5 gives me 11. Okay, and then I also have my t. Negative 16. Negative 1, 16. 2, 8. 2, 4, 2, 2. And I have two t's. T, T. Let's see what they have in common. I have 1, 2, 3 2's in common. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No 5, no negative, no 11. They each have a t in common though. So I'm going to have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8t. And then parentheses, what's left? 5 times 11 is 55. That's it there. This one, negative 2t. Negative 2t. That's pretty easy, right? Moving on. Your turn. Pause. You try it. I'll go ahead and read it for you. A golfer hits a golf ball with a velocity of 112 feet per second. The expression 112t minus 16t squared represents the height of the golf ball after t seconds. Factor the expression. You do. 112t minus 16t squared. Divide that by 2. I get 56. Divide that by 2. Sorry. It's still early. 28. Divide that by 2. 14. Divide that by 2. 7. And I have a t. Negative 1, 16. 2, 8. 2, 4. 2, 2. And I have two t's. T, T. I have 1 2 the same, 2 2's the same, 3 2's the same, 4 2's the same. So 1 2 3 4 2's there. 1 2 3 4 2's there. Those are all the same. And then I have 1 t that's the same. I gotta multiply the 2's back together. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So I've got a 16 and a t. Times, this one's just left with 7. And this one is left with negative t. Okay? If for some reason one time you circle everything, what's left? 1. Right? We can always use a 1. Okay. Now we're going to do something called factoring by grouping. When a polynomial has 4 or more terms, you can sometimes use a method called factoring by grouping, where we're going to put similar terms together. So if I look here, if I have ax and bx, oh look, they both share an x. Ay, by, oh look, they both share a y. So we would pull that out of each of those and stick those two together and have the ones that are the same left over on the inside. Okay, let's try it. Okay, so here I have 2uv plus 6u. Look, they share a u. 5v plus 15. These share a v, but these don't share anything. So I'm going to put these two together and these two together. Okay, that's what I'm doing, is I'm putting these two together and these two together. Notice there's still a plus sign in between. So for this one, I've got 2uv plus 6u. This one is easy, a 2, a u, and a v. That's all I got. This one I've got 2 and 3 and u. What do they have in common? They both have a 2 and they both have a u. So if I pull out of this one, it's 2u. I'm left with v plus 3. Okay? Now let's do that one. 5v plus 15. That's as simple as that one can go. This one I can do 3 and 5. And now look, they share a 5. So I take a 5 from that one. Those match. So 5. What's left? V plus 3. What do you know? Those are the same. Okay? There was an addition sign between these still. So what I'm going to do is, what's the same of all of these? This is what's the same of all of those. So I have v plus 3, because it's the same. The other factored part is 2u plus 5. There you go. Now I factored it. You're going to try one of these. On this check, you pause and try. I see TW plus 10T. They share a T. I see negative 2W plus 20. Let's see what happens. I'm going to leave it just like this for now because these guys share a T. Okay. This one is a negative 2W and negative 20. So I'm putting those together so that because that's a negative 2W. So I've got TW plus 10T. That one's all the way factored. This gives me a 2 and a 5, but I didn't really need to do that because the only thing they share is the T. So I'm going to pull out a T. And then I'm going to leave W plus 10. Okay. This one, I have negative 2W minus 20. This one takes a little more factoring. This one, I have a negative 1 and a 2. This one, I have a negative 1 and a 20. And then a 2 and a 10. And a 2 and a 5. What do they share? They share, oh, this one also has the W down there. They share a negative 1 and a 2. Okay, so I'm pulling out a negative 2 right now. What's left here? This one's left with a W. And this one is left with a 2 times 5 is 10. Oh, look. W plus 10. They share a W plus 10. And then I'm left with T minus 2. So T minus 2. There's our answer. It's factored. Can't turn the page. Example 4. Sometimes you get the right answer, but you don't realize you get the right answer, and you have to pay attention to the way things are flipped. So you have to know that 5 minus x, that is the same thing as if I pull a negative 1 out, it flips the signs. So x minus 5, it looks like it flips it, and you've got to be able to know when that is equal to that. Okay, because let me distribute it. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. I can rearrange that to 5 minus x, which is the same as that. Okay, so you got to be able to tell or test it to see if it can work. So these guys are sharing an m. These guys are only sharing numbers, so I'm going to keep these two together, and then I'm going to put those two together. Okay, so I have 21m minus 3mp. Factor my 21, see if I have some numbers in there. 21 divided by 3 is 7. I've got an m. Negative 1, 3, m, and p. Okay, so I'm sharing a 3, and I'm sharing an m. So I'm bringing out 3m, and then I have 7 minus p. Okay, that's what I got over here so far. Let's look at this one. I have 4p, and then I have minus 28. 4, I'm going to have 2 and 2, and then I got a p. Negative 28, I've got negative 1 and 28. I've got 2 and 14. I've got 2 and 7. What do they share? I see 2 2's, and I see 2 2's. So I'm pulling out 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, what's left? A p and a minus 7. Hold up. Wait a second. Those look flipped. So what can I do? Pick one. Really doesn't matter which one. We like putting the variable last, so I'm going to pick this one. If I pull a negative 1 out of this, so I pull a negative 1 out, it flips the sign. So the negative is going to the 4, so negative 4. This p becomes negative p, and this 7 becomes positive 7. And now it looks the same as that. Yeah? So now I have 3m minus 4 And I have 7 minus p. Okay? That's your answer. Notice, I was like, oh, if I pull a -1 out, it flips both signs. I give the -1 to the 4, and now it looks like that one. Okay? You're going to try that with this check. Okay? I see the x's, but I see multiple x's here and only one x there, so I'm going to leave those together, and I'm going to leave those together. Okay? So I have -3x cubed plus 33x squared. Over here, I'm going to have 4x minus 44. This one, I've got a -1 and a 3 and 3 x's. This one, I've got a 3 and an 11 and then 2 x's. What do we share? Right now we share a 3 and 1, 2 x's. That's what we share. So I have 3x squared. What's left? This one I'm left with a -x and an 11. Okay, over here I have a 2 and a 2 and an x. I have a -1 and a 44. 44 divided by 2 is 22. 22 divided by 2 is 11. What do they share? I have 2 2's and 2 2's. So they share 2 times 2 is 4. What's left? X minus 11. Look, that doesn't work. Okay? I want one of these to look like the other. So, how did my book? My book decided that this was, oh, no, that's not the one I'm looking at. I'm on the check. They decided this one was, I don't know, it doesn't matter. They did it this way. Okay, so I'm going to pull the negative. -1. Pulling it out, giving it to the 4. So now I have -4. That flips the signs. So this is -x and positive 11. Ta-da! Now they match. Take the outside. 3x squared minus 4. And then these match. -x plus 11. Ta-da! Sweet. And that was lesson 9-5.